Welcome to our next session. In the previous session or a previous video, we have studied the integrated approaches. Okay, which are the different issues, and also we have known the different challenges. Okay, next coming to the development. The development of integrated water resource management was particularly recommended in the financial statement of the ministries at the International Conference on Water and Environmental in 1992, so called as the Dublin Principle, and also this international conference is conducted in Dublin. Okay, this concept aims to promote changes in practices which are considered fundamental to improved water resource management. Okay, then what are the different principles depending upon this integrated water resource management for the development of the water resource? Okay, the water resource management rests upon the three principles that together act as a overall framework. Okay, the integrating overall framework integrating the three major. They are: first one, social equity. What is social equity? That the ensuring equal access for all users means all people must have access to water of adequate quantity as well as the quality of the water, and also participation in the water management by all stakeholders. Best way to ensure equity. This whatever the social equity tells about the ensuring that equal policies has to be made for the users such that there will be equal distributions of proper water with respect to quantity as well as the quality of the water. Okay, and also the major is the participation of stakeholders. Okay, they are the best to ensuring that with a policy making as well as the equity, whatever the equity of the or equality of the water distribution. Okay, next coming to the second one, economic efficiency. Economic efficiency in water use is core principles of IWRM. Okay, water must be used with the maximum possible efficiency by bringing the greatest benefit to the greatest members of users possible with available financial and water resources. Okay, here we are going to thinking of the water resource management with economically. Okay, with the greatest benefited to the all the stakeholders as well as the users as well as the greatest numbers, that is distributions of water supply for the different numbers or in a vast numbers we can say, that is with respect to available financial aspects as well as the water resource. Okay, next third one is ecological sustainability. Here the sustainability is to uh, ability to maintain. Okay, whatever the ability to maintain or you can say to achieve ecological sustainability, current water use should be managed in such a way that it does not affect future generation. Here the ecological sustainability is to mean that the whatever the water natural water resource that has to be protected, that has to be preserved for the future generation. such that it not affected for the future generations. Okay, ecologically. Okay, next coming to the principles in what the principles of integrated water resource management. In the water resource management, okay, the principles, whatever the principles that will be adopted in the or so called as the Dublin principles, there are four principles are there in a Dublin principles. What are those? The first principle tells about the fresh water. Okay, is a finite and valuable resources essential to sustain life, development, and the environment. That means that the whatever the what the water, it has own valuable, or it has an essential some of the criteria, such that the whole life, or who are the going to use the users or stakeholders, which they are going to develop for that what the nations, or for the preservations, or we can say protection towards the water resource management. Okay, here some of the descriptions are there based on the principle 1, that is, water sustains life in all its forms and is required for many different purposes, okay, functions and survives. Full stop. And therefore, whatever the management has to involve for the demands placed on the resources and the threats to it, and also creating a water sensitivity potential economical requires coordinated policy making at all levels, from national ministries to local government or community. Okay, whatever the will be creating a potentially or a politically with the economic requires coordinating with the policies making at all level towards the what the government, local government, as well as the community. Okay, come to the second principle, that water development and management should be based on participatory approach involving users, planners, policymakers at all levels. Here, this policy, this second principle tells that there will be involvement of what the good policy makers, as well as the what are the users, as well as the stakeholders. Okay, or we can say that participation of what the different approaches involving all the users, okay, the planners and policymakers at all level. Okay, and what it tells that water is a subject in which everyone is a stakeholders. Real participations takes place when stakeholders are part of this decision making process. Okay, participation also occurs it democratically. Elected agencies or person can represent stakeholders in a group. Okay, whatever the policy making, or you can say the stakeholders group participation in the development of the water resource management. Okay, come to the third principle, that women play a central part in the vision, management, and the safeguarding of water. Here, the women's are the key role, or you can say women's play a vital key role in the collection as well as the safeguarding of water for domestic and in many cases such as agricultural use, but they have a much less influential role than men in management, problem analysis, and in the decision making process related to water resource. Okay. Next is the women's views, interests, and needs shapes the development agenda as much as men's, and that development agenda support progress towards more equal relations between women and men. What the third principles tells that here women's are the main role player. Okay, but due to some conditions, mans are got the full authority in order to distinguish between the women and men's. The policy should be made equally as well as, or you can say, equal relation. It has to be maintained between women and men, such that for the decision making as well as the improvement of this whatever the water resource management towards the what the safeguarding as well as the what the protection we can say. Okay, come to the fourth principle. What the fourth principle tells that water has economic value in all the competing uses and should be recognized as an economic good or economically holds good, right? What it tells that it has the own value, which value, what kind of value, that is economically or economic value for the competition or a participation which recognized as an economically holds good. Okay, then it tells that within this principle it is a vital to recognize first that the basic right of all human beings to have access to clean water and or access to clean water and sustention or you can say sanitation at an offerable price. Here, this fourth principle tells that the economic value, not only we are going to reduce the what the value of water as well as the price. We are keeping the offerable price such that the water can be distributed and also it can be bought in a offerable price, okay, by all human beings, okay, that should be accessible towards the what the clean water and sanitation, okay, for the sanitation purpose also, okay, such that we can reduce as much as the what we can say what we can say that there will be a proper water resource management for all the human beings. Okay. Next is managing water as an economic good is an important way of achieving efficient and equitability or equitable use and of encouraging conservation and protection of water resource. Okay, we should manage that, or we can say fourth principle tells that the water, whatever the managing of water with the economical holds good, and also achieving efficient or equitability with a encouraging conservations or conservator or protector of what the water resource. Okay, these are the some of the principles of what the water resource management, and it also called as, or this is based on the Dublin principle. Okay, next come to the implementation of integrated water resource management. How you are going to implement the integrated water resource management? That an IWRM implementation is focused on three bases, that is, and aims at avoiding a fragmented approaches of water resource management by considering the following aspects. What are the different aspects has to be considered in implementation of IWRM is, first one, enabling environment, that is, a proper enabling environment is essential to both ensure the rights and aspects or assets of all stakeholders, that is, the what it tells that individuals or individuals as well as the public and private sector or private sector organization and companies, and also protects public assets such as an um, environmental values. Okay, that enabling the environmental is that all the stakeholders, who are the stakeholders, that is individually as well as in the group, as well as the public, as well as the private sector or private sector organizations, as well as the private companies, that all should be involved for the protection of what the water resource management. Okay, next, second one is role of institutions. What are the institutional roles in the implementations is, institutional development is critical to the formulation and implementation of IWRM policies and programs. Failure to match responsibilities, authority, and capacities for action are all major sources of difficulty with implementing IWRM. Okay, here the institutional development has what the different formulation, okay, with the programs or we can say matching with the responsibilities, authority, and capacities are capable to handle this whatever the all major water source management. Okay, that has to be implemented in different way. Okay, next, third one is management instruments. Here the management instruments is it having a just like a tool. Okay, in order to maintain the what the actions as well as the whatever the enabling the different decision making. Okay, here the third is management instruments. What it tells that the management instruments for IWRM are the tools or methods that enable and help decision makers to make relation or rational and informed choices between alternative actions. Okay, This is the what the management instruments. Okay. Next is some of the cross-cutting conditions that are also important to consider when implementing IWRM. Here, some of the different conditions has to be studied, okay, in the or while implementing IWRM. Okay, which are those? First one, political will and commitment. Okay, and also capacity development. Next one, adequate investment, financial sustainability, or sustainable cost recovery. Next one is monitoring and evaluation. Here, the political will or whatever the commitment, political commitment or political support that has to be implemented before going to the implementing the IWRM for the stakeholders or towards the what public sector. Okay, and also the capacity development. Okay, and also adequate investment. Okay, financial sustainability and sustainable cost recovery. Okay, wish that whatever the finance has to be required for the investment as well as the that has to be maintained, okay, for the further revenue generation as well as the financial sustainability as well as the after the investment there should be a what invested recovery or you can say cost recovery has to be done. Next one is what the monitoring and evaluation. Continuous monitoring towards the implementation of IWRM that has to be done with a feedbacking or whatever the feedback system has to be taken from the public sector or whatever the users, and also according to the problems or according to the feedback session whatever the evaluation or whatever the corrections has to be done, and also it after correction it has to be implemented in proper way. Okay, so these are the some of the implementations integrated water resource management. Okay, that next is what the development objectives. Okay, and also uh, what are the different development objectives are. We can see the flow chart or a cycle that from the development objectives what are the different stages has to be implemented or implementation for further enabling environmental or institutional structures, management instruments, infrastructure development. Okay, with a following this cycle or a following this flow chart, we can implementation made successfully. Okay, first one is coming to the after the development objectives. First is what the national goals. Okay, national goals that is followed with a water resource issue assessment. Next is water resource policy or strategy. Next is IWRM implementation plan. Next is actions of implementation. Next one is monitoring and evaluation of process. Again, it is evaluated again in coming back to the national goals. Again, it is second. Okay, that these are the some of the stages that has to, or you can say objectives that has to be passed for the implementation of water enabling environment, institutional structures, management instruments, and also infrastructure development for the what the implementation IWRM in the public sectors. Okay,